Hello, you're listening to Count Richard von Coudenhove Kalergi. Today is Friday the 25th of January, and here's a couple of comments since my last video. Austrian Vice Chancellor and leader of the Freedom Party, Heinz Christian Strache, has slammed pro-mass migration activists, saying they bore joint responsibility following several migrant-perpetrated murders. He also took aim at the Austrian Social Democrats. Take note, never vote for Social Democrats. Just look what they have done in Sweden. And over here, the Social Democrats are running a 3 times failed asylum seeker as a North Dublin candidate. I digress slightly. Austria should have been spared a lot if the Social Democrats had not opened up the borders for everyone to get into our social system. And it will be good if the Social Democrats don't come into government for the next 20 years. In his New Year's party speech, he promised that he would ban radical Islamism, saying that the ideology was antagonistic to women, anti-liberal, and corresponds to a fascist world view. Austrian Minister of the Interior, Caroline Edstadler, in a recent press conference said, "What is happening here? What are the reasons behind this escalation of violence? This follows 5 murders since December committed by migrants, including the murder of a 16-year-old girl stabbed to death in her bedroom by a 17-year-old Afghan, and a Kosovan who stabbed his wife to death after she wanted a divorce. We must not close our eyes to the migration flood that has imported values such as anti-Semitism, radical Islamism, where women become an object and a man becomes her owner. This leads to more extreme and serious violent crimes like the murder in recent weeks. More from that canary in the coal mine, Sweden. New crime figures released for 2018 have revealed an increase of 8% in rape to 7,800 cases. Sweden also saw 272 shootings with 129 people injured and a record 44 people killed. This with over 800 firearms seized and 299 people arrested for serious crime. It also saw a hand grenade amnesty in which ran from October to January, where no hand grenades were found and none were handed in. Moderate leader Ulf Kristersson in a recent speech described Malmö as "it's like a scene from a gangster movie, but in reality it's the country's 3rd largest city," and went on to say that mastering languages such as Arabic and Chinese as a long-term challenge. In 2018, Arabic became Sweden's largest minority language, overtaking Finnish, and in January has certainly got off to a bang, with 4 explosions happening within a 24-hour period, beginning at 4 a.m. in Värnamo, which blew off the front doors of a house on Tuesday morning. This is the 2nd bombing in that city so far this year. Later on Tuesday evening, an explosion that damaged a pizzeria at 10 p.m. in Stockholm, followed by another attack on a pizzeria, this time in Gothenburg, at 1 a.m. and in the city of Landskrona a couple of hours later, which caused substantial material damage, the 4th explosion within a month in that town. In 2017, Swedish police received 210 reports of explosions. Reports for 2018 not in yet, but there has been 40 detonations in Malmö alone last year, with a further detonation in Malmö on Thursday night, causing minor damage. In France, figures released at an economic forum organised by the OECD has revealed that 2.85 million people aged between 15 and 34 are not in training, education or employment. And that 40% were either born abroad or born in France with at least one immigrant parent. And Davos, Switzerland, at least 1,500 private aircraft are expected to descend on Davos and other nearby airports this week as the international financial and political elite will meet to discuss financial matters and global climate challenges. This is up from 1,300 aircraft last year. The 92-year-old BBC veteran presenter David Attenborough, in his opening speech on Monday, said that right now we are facing a man-made disaster on a global scale. Our greatest threat is climate change. The World Economic Forum membership costs somewhere between €53,000 to €530,000, depending on the level of engagement. Heads of state and ministers do not have to pay for participation. Global warming has always been about giving more wealth and power to the global elite. It has nothing to do with climate change. They have invested huge amounts of money and are expecting enormous payoffs from their scam. Which is the greater threat to man, global warming or global governance? And the pro-migration NGOs and their allies amongst Europe's political classes have visited upon Europe more economic damage than any war could have done, with 50% of the tax take of this country going towards the national debt, the second highest percentage in the world. The draw from the taxpayers' money is a form of economic warfare. Portugal and Greece are about 30% and Germany at an incredibly low 4%. It's time to self-educate your family and friends, starting with your children. And now for some domestic issues. A taxi driver suspected of 2 separate sexual assaults is still driving a taxi. Described as a South Asian man, just like how they described the grooming gangs in the UK, Garda said that they are building a strong case against him. The alleged sexual assault, one of which was on a foreign national, took place in August and in November. The women were picked up on the south side of the city and were sexually assaulted in the north inner city. Both women were treated in the Rotunda Hospital. A file has been sent to the Department of Public Prosecution. This is a separate investigation to the rape of a woman 3 times by a taxi driver on December the 9th, a lady who had attended a Christmas party in Dublin 4 and was raped up around Mountjoy Square. In another case involving a taxi driver and a sexual misconduct, this time in Galway, a taxi driver whose licence was revoked before Christmas has been unsuccessful in his appeal to have his licence restored after 2 complaints from different women were given to the Gardaí. The judge imposed restrictions preventing publication of his name. A married man of 2 granted a PSV licence in 2010. After the first complaint he had been given to the Gardaí, a notice of advice by guards to not get involved with this type of behaviour again had been given to him. His solicitor said that his client was abiding by a curfew imposed by him by the courts, which, you're going to love this one, prevented him from driving his taxi at night. Did you ever hear anything like that before? Maybe girls travelling on their own should use app technology and download the Taxi Driver Check app, which is free and is issued by the National Transport Authority, and only get into taxis that the driver is registered. In another case in Galway, a 49-year-old Pakistani immigrant has been jailed for 6 years for raping a woman he invited over for dinner. The victim said that she had extended the hand of friendship to Sharif Quadri, but was cruelly taken advantage of after consuming too much drink. Addressing the court, he said that he was there because of his own sins, but strangely claimed that he was advised before trial that he could be convicted if he didn't shave off his beard. In an Oireachtas report there, it was revealed that out of 4,000 deportation orders, only 140 were actually enforced. Profit before people, take note. Does any of this put pressure on the housing? And a rather sad picture appeared from Australia with about a couple of hundred nurses on the steps of the Sydney Opera House behind a banner saying, give us a reason to come home. And interesting enough, I was driving through South Dublin earlier on this week and I noticed that there were banners up with people before profit saying, or should I say profit before people, saying support our nurses. So I sent them a text saying that what policy were they going to do to help bring nurses abroad home back to Ireland, and ended with the phrase Níl aon hinton mar a hinton féin. Well, there are a couple of thoughts for this week. I noticed I have a couple of new subscribers. Thanks very much. My thoughts are my own. Good night and good luck.